Good evening. It's time for our regular scheduled meeting for the Board of Mayor and Aldermen on Monday, February 9th. Welcome to the meeting. We're going to start out this evening with several public hearings before we get to our regular agenda. And so our first item on our public hearing agenda is a public hearing on adoption of the 2045 comprehensive plan. Is there anyone present who wants to speak to the comprehensive plan? Anyone present who wants to speak to the comprehensive plan? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next comprehensive plan, close that, or the next public hearing, we'll close that one. The next item is a public hearing on a request to rezone property located at 401 Lamont Street. Is there anyone here wish to speak on that rezoning request, 401 Lamont? Seeing none, we'll close that public hearing. Our third public hearing is a public hearing on a request to rezone property at 700 South Washington Street. Is anyone here to speak to that rezoning? Seeing none, we close that public hearing. Our next one, a public hearing on a request to rezone property located at 1809 Old Estill Springs Road. Is anyone here to speak to that public hearing? Yes, sir. Come.
Sure, I can speak to that.
Come up to the microphone if you don't mind. Give us your name, please.
My name is Clark Knudsen.
Thanks, sir.
And I live at 203 Clark Lane. Not named after me.
There you go.
And my request is to rezone some property that's currently industrial property. And I'd like to purchase it from Tennessee Apparel, Mr. Rick Francis and his partner. And I'd like to rezone it to residential.
Yes, sir. So this is your property on the rezoning? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The public hearing is for any other people in the public that want to make a comment about that. So you're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hasn't purchased it yet, I think.
No, but that's part of what the court request was for the rezoning. We heard it in the Planning Commission. Anyone else wants to speak to that one? All right, we'll close that public hearing. And then the final public hearing, a public hearing on a request to rezone property located at 0 Toole Street, Coffee County, map 124E, Group A, Parcel 4. Is there anyone here to speak to that rezoning? All right, if not, that concludes our public hearings, and we'll come to our regular meeting agenda, so we're called to order. I'd ask you to stand. We'll have invocation by Reverend Ernie Jones.
Pray with me, please. Father God, we come to you knowing that we are here in your creation and in need of supernatural. So Lord, fill us with your spirit, this room. Give us wisdom. Give us discernment as we, the city, the mayor, the board, city officials, serve the people of Tullahoma and lead out in their departments. Great wisdom, great discernment. Lord, we just ask a blessing upon Tullahoma and the citizens here, all the families that are represented in this room. May you bless us. May you guide us. May we become very united under a cause to live for the betterment of our community. Lord, it's a great task to have even two human beings agree on one thing. But Lord, to have a whole city to agree would be phenomenal. May it bring glory to you if that happens and when it does happen. So Lord, may we glorify you in everything we think about, say, and do. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next item is roll call. If you're like me and you haven't signed in yet, please be sure and sign in, but we have all 7 aldermen present. Our next item is recognition of our honorary aldermen. We have 2 honorary aldermen from the Mayor's Youth Council here with us this evening. They would join me at the podium, or in front of the podium here. Get on the door. All right. William Paris. Tullahoma High School, right? Yes, sir. And, members of the Mayor's Youth Council, I'm going to ask them, Molly's going to take our photo here.
Yeah, ready? 1, 2, 3. Let me get one more. 1, 2,
3. Got it. Thank you.
Probably just tell us a little about yourselves and the things you do at the high school.
My name is Jonah Dorman. I'm a junior at the high school. I play trombone in the band. I also play guitar and started piano lessons. And I'm the trombone section leader.
There you go.
My name is Will Harrison. I am a student at Tullahoma High School. I'm a member of the Tullahoma Band. I am a freshman ambassador and drill instructor for the percussion section. I serve as the first chair in the symphonic band. I am in the percussion ensemble and the jazz ensemble. And I also serve as the male representative for the youth at the church council at the First Methodist Church across the road.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah, applause is appropriate. Our next item is comments from citizens. All citizens will be invited to speak for up to 3 minutes about any matter under the purview of the board. We had a sign-up list, and so if you will, as to call your name, if you'll come, please speak in the microphone and begin by stating your name and address. We're starting with Mr. Ralph Bard.
Good evening. I'm actually just going to try to talk for 2 minutes because I want to give 1 minute to Kathy Manis, who's right behind me. And what I wanted to do was address the Tullahoma Airport and the Tullahoma Airport Authority Board. And we've been hearing some at the board and around the airport about changes that want to be made. And I would suggest to everybody here that the idea of leadership is that you delegate tasks to people that are experts. I don't know how to fight a fire, so I would get a fireman to help me with that if I was trying to determine policy or something like that. So for the airport, I would suggest that people with experience at the airport, time at the airport, knowledge at the airport are probably the ones that can probably best make the decisions regarding the airport. I realize that lately there have been some issues at the airport but they are being addressed. They're being addressed rapidly. Things are improving rapidly, and I would like to speak in support of the Tullahoma Airport Authority Board, which I think is doing a good job, continues to do a good job. Of course, I don't really think there's any debate about the airport being valuable to the Tullahoma community. The amount of revenue generated by the airport with all the businesses out there, Wright Base, XP Services, Arms Aviation, the FBO itself is in the millions of dollars. The other thing to consider is that the Attorney General was asked back in 2016 about the possibility of changing the way that the airport is managed rather than the Tullahoma Airport Authority Board. And basically the Attorney General said that in his opinion that couldn't be done, that once the board's been established it kind of has to keep on operating. But the thing that this doesn't address that I found interesting when I read the opinion, the Attorney General opinion, was it doesn't say anything about FAA regulations. And the fact is that FAA regulations specifically require that money generated for and at the airport have to go to the airport and can't go to anything else, unfortunately. I realize that right now we have an issue of trying to pay for the fuel spill that occurred out of the airport and the responsibility of Tullahoma and the airport. But I think that there's, like I always think, there's always a solution that can be addressed that can find a satisfactory solution both to the airport to let it continue to function and to the city of Tullahoma, that though it's going to be a burden, there's no question about that, it doesn't have to be one that is a burden that cannot be dealt with. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Manis, I think he might have used your minute.
I love Ralph. He is a man of many words. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Aldermen. Kathy Manis, 123 Autumn Lane. As an aviator, I am very concerned that there are members of this board that feel that Tullahoma Airport Authority needs to be dissolved and the airport be placed under this board. Sadly, due to the lack of and mismanagement of the airport by previous managers, the airport has had a series of less than desirable situations that have shown a poor light on the TAA. The TAA chairman, Carla Smith, is the one that saw dangerous, unmanaged processes and procedures and brought them to light. She and others have worked tirelessly to fix issues and correct the course of our airport. She has been transparent with all state and city officials and continues to ensure the airport stays on course. I'm sure the mayor and board are aware, and I want for the record and our community to be aware that the Airport Authorities Act, Title 42, Chapter 3, allows municipalities to create municipal or regional airport authorities to own and operate airports as independent public entities. This is what Tullahoma did in 1978. It furthermore states, once a municipality chooses to create an airport authority under Chapter 3, the airport authority, not the municipality, becomes the operating entity. The airport authority then operates as a separate legal entity from the city government under state law, which protects it from the immediate dissolution by the appointing body. This means BOMA cannot dissolve the TAA by a simple vote. Before the airport issues were brought to light by Ms. Smith, this board had little to do with the airport or ever visited our fine facility. By show of hands of our mayor and board, how many of you are pilots? In our current capacities as mayor and alderman, prior to last summer, how many of you had ever visited our airport to gain knowledge of and see this important asset of our city? Great. How many of you know how many planes are based out of Tullahoma Airport? I could go on with these questions, but as we can see, it's not necessary. It is concerning that members of this governing body don't understand that an airport does not close on a national holiday, or why we even need a beacon. Pilots have computer navigation, and we also use visual guidance at night. Our beacon is one of those valuable tools to help guide air pilots to the right direction. Vanderbilt Life Flight uses this beacon the most. Last year alone, they navigated 498 souls on board and is the number one transport in the Vanderbilt system. Knowledge is the key. Our city has issues that this board should continue to work on with the knowledge that they have to do so and allow Tullahoma Airport Authority to continue to navigate our airport on the right course. Mayor and Alderman, my final question is, if you needed brain surgery, would you want a plumber to do that job? No, you would choose a neurosurgeon because the plumber does not have the correct knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you. James Westlake.
So good evening. My name's James Westlake Thomas. Sorry if my voice is not quite as good as it should be today. As you can hear, I'm not from these parts. But I've been lucky enough to be a pilot since 1969. I've flown in and around airports in about 10 different countries. I've seen how this airport operates. I live in the air park, I keep my aircraft there, and I think that the airport authority method is the one that I've seen have the most capability and produce the best results for any airport that I've been in touch with. Thank you.
Thank you. John Horst.
Good evening. I'm John Hurst. I'm been a pilot out at Tullahoma Airport for the last 10 years. It's a place that we love to fly. And Mr. Jim Apple introduced me to aviation back 10 years ago. And I didn't have the means nor the ability to fly on my own. And coming from a poor background, you know, it's people like John Parrish and Jim Apple that took me under their wing and gave me the interest in aviation and flying. And I want to say that I've flown to a lot of airports around the nation. I visit airports around the world, and TAA is by far one of the best managed airports, I could say. And I think the board's a very important part of this, you know, airport. And I just want to beseech you guys to think carefully about all the public rhetoric you hear about the airport and the negativity. I think it's time we put it behind us and acknowledge the wrongdoings that happened in the past, and let's move forward in a positive manner instead of the negativity that's been there, and let the board do their job. They've had their faults and failures, but I think moving forward it's going to be a great new start, and I just ask you guys to highly consider and let them do their job. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Our next person on the sign-up sheet is Mitch Davis.
Good morning, Mitch Davis, been around here in Tullahoma. Just want to run something past everybody here. We're aware of this bill, all the drama that's been going on at the airport. Hasn't put us in the best light. The mayor had suggested at the study session to potentially bring on a board of advisors and or subject matter experts to assist in regaining smooth operation of the airport. I think it's a great idea because it's hard for one person to handle everything, and we need to have those subject matter experts in place. It's at no cost to the taxpayer. You bring in people that are familiar with hangar operations, have been to other airports, own aircraft, own hangars, and contribute to get the airport back to where it should be. The other suggestion is, if you're going to open up the board, I think the TCA says the board allows for up to 11 members. Not a bad idea to add additional members to the board. We need a super proactive board. We need it now. I championed for an interim manager last time who came in and started working on straightening things out and getting things back to normal. Hopefully we're seeing good progress with that. I haven't been privy to any results or statistics, but we do need additional board members that are proactive and knowledgeable with general aviation and airport operations. Like I said, last but not least, if we could get something on the agenda to create, as the mayor suggested, this advisory board, I don't think it's a bad thing, especially when the price is right, and that's free. A lot of us are willing to donate our time based on our real-world experience to come in and help. So all I'm asking for is to consider this and make it a future consideration because it does nothing but benefit the airport, the general public, the students in the aviation program in the school, and anybody else who just wants to come out and spend a day out there. The city has a lot to do and is proud of the airport. We need to get it back up to where it was in 2017, Airport of the Year for the state of Tennessee. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next person on our list is Joanne Hartvigsen.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to come before this board. My name is Joan Hartvigsen, 220 Choctaw Road, Winchester. I am the president of the Friends of Short Springs State Natural Area. We currently have over 100 members, largely from the city of Tullahoma and the nearby area. Our Friends group is very active in supporting maintenance and conservation activities through cleanups and general coordination with state park management and with the city of Tullahoma. Tonight, you will consider approving the donation of 8 acres of land from Tullahoma Utilities Authority to the state of Tennessee. This land will be a significant addition to Short Springs. This area, largely along Bobo Creek, was identified by the state due to the presence of environmentally sensitive resources, including the rare barren top minnow. There are also several rare plant species. The donation will allow for long-term conservation and protection of these rare resources. It will also expand the significance in what is already a premier state natural area that serves the community around Tullahoma and visitors from across the state. I urge you to approve this land donation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. And the final one on our sign-up list is Matt Bennett. Is that correct? Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Matt Bennett, Tullahoma on Rutledge Falls. Several months ago, I was asked to be a part of the search committee for a new airport manager. Several in that group were like me, simply airport users. But importantly, in my opinion, two of our members were Charles Parrish, owner of the Beechcraft Heritage Museum, and Rodney Allison, the owner of XP Services. Everyone knows what the Beechcraft Heritage Museum does for the community, and you learned the other night that XP Services is a multinational, multi-million-dollar aviation company based right here at our little airport in Tullahoma. You also learned what its economic impact to the community is. Charles and Rodney's businesses rely on the Tullahoma Airport being successful. Our group reviewed dozens of resumes and interviewed the most qualified candidates. We then unanimously decided to recommend the hiring of Gavin Deshawn as the new airport manager. We made our recommendation to the Tullahoma Airport Authority at their last meeting, and they then voted to approve our recommendation. Since that time, one singular person, the city manager, Jason Quick, has decided that he is going to reject our recommendation and possibly try to install his own pick instead. Our group understands aviation and the running of an airport, and for some of us, their livelihood depends on it. I hope that this board will trust our recommendation. Conversely, Mr. Quick doesn't understand the running of an airport. For instance, he questioned why the airport even needs a lighted beacon, when any basic pilot can tell you how vital that is. It makes one wonder why he would attempt to prevent the hiring of the person whom we recommended. Why did he waste our time? After our announcement, one of the rejected candidates called Gavin and told him not to worry, that he was only planning on being in the position for 2 or 3 years and then Gavin could take it. That would suggest to me that someone communicated to that person, in fact, that he was going to be the one hired for the position, contrary to our recommendation. If this was communicated to him by someone in the city administration, this was extremely unprofessional, and it reeks of backroom dealing. Much has been said recently about the cost of the fuel spill accident that occurred at the airport, and which was the result of a simple, honest accident. The airport authority has been transparent at every step in the process about the cost. We saw that at the meeting last week. Recently, Tullahoma has been in the national news because of the lawsuit against the school board caused by Mr. Quick's denial of a student's constitutional rights while he was principal at THS. For purposes of equal transparency, how much did the city have to pay in legal fees to defend Mr. Quick's bad judgment? There was mention the other night about bringing the airport back under the city's control. As an airport user, I disagree wholeheartedly. I agree there are problems at the airport, most of which were caused by mismanagement by John Glass and Jimmy Chapman. The recent fuel spill was the direct result of poor training and mismanagement by John and Jimmy. The TAA trusted when the airport management reported that things were fine. Obviously, they were misled. Now that the curtains have been pulled back and the issues have been laid bare, they can be dealt with. I feel that under the leadership of Carla Smith as the chair and with Gavin Deshawn as our new manager, things will turn around. It makes one wonder, with all those other responsibilities, why Mr. Quick would want to bring the airport under his control. Perhaps he has ulterior motives.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to speak during the period of public comment? Anybody didn't get to sign up? All right, with that, we'll close public comments and we will move into approval of the agenda. Before we start on the agenda, we have an item that Ms. Wilson has provided us late Friday, which is related to item 18, of course, on the fuel spill, which is a resolution for the issuance of bonds for the municipal airport capital outlay notes, which I think everyone has a copy of. If we're going to talk about paying the fuel spill, we probably need to get this on the agenda. So can I have a motion to put this on the agenda?
Make that motion. Approve the agenda first.
We're going to approve it before we...
You need a motion to approve it.
Oh, I'm sorry. So we're going to amend the agenda. Okay. So we need a motion to approve the agenda and a second on that. So we have a motion. So now can we get a motion to the amend agenda to add resolution number 2041?
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to include resolution 2041.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion on that one?
Yes, at this time, I'd like to amend the motion to postpone this item to possibly a special call meeting.
You can't amend a motion to postpone the motion.
No, I'm amending the motion to put it on the agenda tonight and postpone it to a special call meeting in the near future. We received some information this afternoon. I guess everybody got the email.
So hold that. I'm going to rule that motion out of order because you can't amend a motion that hasn't been approved yet.
We have to vote on this one, and then you can.
Then you can amend it if you want to.
Oh, okay. I was amending the motion that was made.
Well, you can't amend the motion. You can't amend this motion until it's been approved. It hasn't been approved yet.
Okay.
So, but while we're talking about whether it should be on the agenda or not, just so everyone understands, we received a letter from OES Environmental, I believe Friday after our Thursday meeting, after it was stated publicly somewhere about perhaps delaying this payment further, that if they want to receive a check by February 20th. They've given us a deadline now. And if they do not receive a check by February 20th, that they intend to take legal action against both the city and Ascend Federal Credit Union to receive their payment. It's been 3.5 months now since the spill. So I think it's worth putting this on the agenda so we can discuss it tonight. We're not passing it with this vote. We're getting on the agenda so we can discuss whether we do want to pass it. And I feel very strongly that we need to at least have that discussion, given the fact that we've got some legal action pending against us if we don't.
May I ask?
Yeah.
I think we still have some time with the February 20th deadline. The city administrator Quick had reached out to a FAA attorney expert this morning and received a preliminary report from him that it may be favorable to us to change some of the wording in this that would be favorable to the taxpayer at Tullahoma. He was unable. He tried to get it done by today, but was unable to finish his research. But should have a recommendation. So I would assume tomorrow or very soon. And after that recommendation, it may change this resolution a little bit to be to the advantage of the city taxpayer, and it should be very quick. Maybe we could call a special call meeting and still be able to vote on it and pass it and get payment to by the February 20th.
Well, I would argue we need to have the discussion on this tonight, and if we want to change it after the fact, we can talk about that then.
Well, it depends on if we pass we shouldn't pass the resolution in this form.
We have
Wilson,
a motion.
Do you have any?
Hold on. We have a motion on the floor to add this as an agenda item. All this discussion should be discussed when we reach this item on the agenda. If we're not going to put this item on the agenda, then we shouldn't have all this discussion.
Well, that's why we're having the discussion. Maybe we don't put it on the agenda if we're going to postpone it. That's what to a special call meeting. So what I'm arguing for is, yes, I want this on an agenda ASAP, but I don't think we're ready for it tonight when we're waiting for a very important attorney's opinion.
So can you clarify, is this an attorney that works for the FAA?
No, he is an attorney that is an expert in aviation and FAA matters.
Do we have any written documentation as to what his opinion is on this topic at this time?
Just what he sent us as an email.
Okay. Do you have that email with you?
Did he not send it to you?
I haven't seen an email.
Oh. Let me see.
So we don't have an email.
I saw it too. I don't know who all got it, but I thought that the whole Bowman was on it.
Well, we may have been, but sending emails
I
at the
saw
last
it this
minute.
afternoon. He talked to him this morning after a lot of discussion over the weekend on what to do. So,
so what is the essence of the issue that needs to be changed?
Is whether, I know there's some issue or not, whether the payment could come from the airport, whether that would be allowed for the payment to be made from the airport funds rather than just from city tax dollars.
So how would that affect the need to get a bond issue?
Well, the bond issue would still go, but if you read on in this bond issue, it says how the bonds will be paid.
Yes.
And it says in here, and this one with taxpayer dollars, and I'm not an expert on these things, of course, but maybe Ms. Wilson could tell us a little bit about how that might change the resolution.
So I really feel like we're now debating the resolution instead of whether to put the resolution on the agenda. If we're going to start discussing the details.
I think the debate is, because if we decide we wanted to wait on the attorney's opinion, we wouldn't be putting it on the agenda, is what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying. I just don't think we have the full debate on it just to get it on the agenda. You can always turn it down if you don't like it later in the actual discussion on the item. Does anyone else have any comments on this item?
I do, Mayor.
Ms.
I just
Ms.
want to say,
Hoskins?
I think if the board is going to hire an FAA attorney to get their opinion for something like this, you probably need to vote on that. And as to who, I mean, I don't know if we got a selection of names for the board to pick from, or if they just, I don't think the city administrator can just pick somebody and then get their opinion. I think the board has to authorize that. I thought that it was somebody from the FAA, because the way I saw that it happen is that I question, has anyone reached out to the FAA to ask the simple question of if the taxpayers have to pay for the fuel cleanup, or if it could be the airport, the TAA. And in him contacting the FAA, was told that yes, that would be considered an airport expense, and that they could pay for the fuel spill cleanup.
I think a question on this is you're asking the airport to pay for something when we all know from sitting in a meeting the other night that the airport doesn't have the ability to pay for it. Therefore, so it's a question in my mind. It ultimately comes down to this. We own the airport. We got the bill. We got to figure a way for paying for it. If you want to slide it to the airport and they don't have any revenue to pay for it, then to me it's a moot point no matter what this FAA guy may say.
No, it's not a moot point. It's an accounting matter
how the I'm going to interrupt for point of order here. We are now obviously debating the resolution that is not on the agenda yet. So let's have a vote whether we want to put it on the agenda or not. And if it goes on the agenda, we can have this same debate. So unless anyone has any further comments about whether it should be on the agenda, let's go ahead and vote. Anyone else? All right.
So what are we voting on?
We're voting on adding this resolution to the agenda.
Would you restate the?
We are adding resolution, it's a motion to add resolution number 2041, a resolution of the City of Tullahoma, Tennessee, authorizing the issuance of interest-bearing municipal airport capital outlay notes, Series 2026, in an amount not to exceed $744,000 and providing for the payment of said notes. We are adding that item to the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other commentary about adding it to the agenda? If not, let's vote. So that motion carries 6-1. All right. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. So I've been told that TUA cannot see our vote total board on our software. So I'm going to announce those as we go. So Mayor Seaborn votes yes. Alderman Glick votes yes. Alderman Mathis votes yes. Alderman Wilson votes no. Alderman McGee votes yes. Alderman Byrd votes yes. And Alderman Toma votes yes on that motion. So that's been added to the agenda. Any other items to add or remove to the agenda?
Yeah, I have 4 items that I'd like to remove from the agenda.
What's the first one?
Items, ordinances 1676, 1677, 1678, and 1679.
We need to do those individually?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Where is that? There. What we got?
So we have a motion to remove ordinance number 1676 from the agenda.
Yes.
Does anyone want to second removing that? This is a rezoning of the parcel located at 401 Lamont Street.
I'll second it.
Which one? Resolution for ordinance?
It's ordinance number 1676, item number 5 under new business. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir. So what's your stated reason for that?
The reason I want to remove this is because it didn't properly go before the Planning Commission. It went to the Planning Commission on January 20th. There was not a quorum at that meeting. And so for that reason, I think that we should remove it and send it back to the Planning Commission for the next meeting. That would be the way to correct that error.
Ms. Hoskins, do you have an attorney's opinion on whether our Planning Commission meeting was in order on the evening specified?
Well, I need to know exactly who all was there
that meeting. I mean, I gave you all the research that showed that even if there was a member sitting on that board whose term had expired and they voted on something, that vote would be considered valid under the de facto officer doctrine.
I think, Ms. Hoskins, the research that you provided was under the presumption that it was found out, and you say it right here, if it was found out later that the term was determined to be defective, that the acts would still be good.
So what
it wasn't determined later. It was determined before the meeting, at the meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, that that there was only 4 members left, and Miss McGee was not at that meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, so she didn't know.
So,
but excuse me. So it was determined a week before that Miss McGee's term had expired. It was expressed directly that Miss McGee's term was expired, and it was also stated that there are only 4 members left on the Planning Commission, and we talked about that you better make sure that all the members are there or you won't be able to have a meeting. Well, then the following week, when the Planning Commission came on, all 4 members, the valid members of the Planning Commission, were not there. But Mrs. McGee was, because she didn't know, because she missed the Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting before. So it was already determined before that meeting started that Miss McGee's term was not valid, that it had expired.
Mm-hmm.
So not afterwards.
I understand what you're saying. And I think clearly the right thing to do is to get this corrected, but I don't think it has to be revoted on, because what the research showed, and you can look in that research that I sent, is that once it's relied upon, once that vote is relied upon, then it's considered valid. And what the case law says is, especially in the cases of cities, once a vote is made, particularly with a planning commission, it is relied upon, because whoever applied for it or whoever's made the application or the city itself has relied upon that decision once it's been made. I don't think it has to be revoted on. If the board wants to do that, you could do that,
Well,
but I think that it's valid.
I think that would be the best way to make it more clean. I also reached out to Sam Edwards, the attorney that is recognized as the expert on planning commissions. He is the attorney that we hire to give our planning commissions training. He sent back the recommendation that all the votes taken at that meeting be redone. He said that would just be the easiest way, just to bring them all back to the following meeting and redo them. I'm just looking for a way to correct this and make sure that nothing can possibly come up and bite us later. I know, especially on some of these rezonings, and I'm sure all these would be fine, but just think about just recently where there was a convenience store that was at a piece of property that was rezoned at some point commercial, but there was, when they started to build the convenience store there was an uproar in the area and said, well, there was problems with that rezoning and it wasn't done properly. And I think that's spurred some legal action, and we had to go through some things. And I think we prevailed on there that everything was done right. But I think if somebody came back later on one of these rezonings and challenged it, and they found out that at the Planning Commission there was not a quorum, and in our ordinance, it's ordinance number 2-105 that says, it's 14-103 that says there has to be a quorum to have a legitimate meeting. So if they pointed at that, they would have standing.
Let me read something from our ordinances and get a question about this. So in our ordinances 2-105, talking about maximum terms for these sort of things, the first sentence says maximum length of continuous service on any city appointed board, commission, committee, or authority shall be as follows. And for our city board member, it's 1 year, although it's not listed in this table. And then it says these limits are not to be exceeded even though partial terms, but for the sole exception when there are not eligible volunteers seeking to fill the position. As I've stated before, I wasn't aware of that phrase. But my question is, what eligible volunteer was seeking to fill the position of Alderman McGee?
6 other board members potentially, or 5 other board members.
So we didn't attempt to fill the position. and no one raised their hand and said they wanted to serve in that position. And so if that's the case, then we had a case, but for the sole exception when there are not eligible volunteers seeking to fill the position. That's what our own ordinance says. And so if that's the case, she was fine in her seat until we take the vote tonight to replace her.
On that position, it states that we are to hold. So we were already in violation of that ordinance. It says we are to hold an election for that position. So we are already violating that ordinance. So
but we didn't,
I don't understand what all the pushback is when we could just correct it so easily by having it go back before the Planning Commission again.
Because it doesn't affect anybody. It doesn't affect the people who are seeking to have this land rezoned and
could.
having their projects delayed.
It could
for a
affect
month.
somebody. It could affect somebody in the future, and there actually was action taken on one of the items on that Planning Commission that was a negative recommendation. So it could affect that. We don't know that.
Let's hear Ms. Wilson's comment.
I have been on this board for nearing 4 years, and every year the mayor has always every year had us vote on who was going to and also appoint who were going to serve on the boards, and we haven't done that. And I had planned to actually speak about some of this during my alderman comments, but we are now on day 167 of not having a fully constituted planning commission, and the consequences of that now are right in front of us. As of today, we are operating with 3 expired planning commission terms. One seat has been expired for 167 days, another for 153 days, and another for 106 days. That means we are now well over 5 months into operating without a fully and properly appointed planning commission, despite having qualified citizen applicants and other members of this board who have submitted the required participation forms and presented to this board. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen directed the mayor to fill these vacancies. We currently have 2 fully qualified citizen candidates who followed the process, submitted participation forms, and addressed this board publicly. Despite that, those appointments have not been made, and the Planning Commission continues to operate without a full lawful membership. Given the length of time these seats have expired, the failure to appoint qualified citizens, and the resulting lack of lawful quorum, I do believe that the only way around this is to remove them from the agenda and have the Planning Commission vote on it again.
Ms. McGee.
Okay, just for the record, once it was brought to my attention that my term had expired on the board of the Planning Commission, I did reach out to Ms. Hopkins to just for direction on my part and to see if my votes passed the date that my term expired, if they counted or not. So I just want to be transparent in that manner because I want to do things the right way, of course. So I did reach out to her for some guidance.
Okay. Any other comments from any of the other aldermen? All right. There's no other comments. Any other final comments on that?
Well, I just want to close by saying, I think it's pretty easy just to do the right thing here, just to send it and have them revote at the Planning Commission. And that way it will absolve any questions in the future. And it makes everything transparent and that we're doing things properly and correctly as to what our ordinances say.
Request to speak.
Yes, sir.
I understand where you're coming from on that. I think the concern I have is that we haven't filled the positions. So if we send this back to the Planning Commission and those individuals whose terms have expired have not been replaced, are we dealing with the same issue again?
Well, we are voting on an alderman representative tonight. It's on the agenda. So that will make the 5th member. And if the mayor has his people that he wants to put on the Planning Commission, that would fill it out at 7. But anyway, we will provide the 5th member to the board. So that way at least one person could be absent tonight. So.
Yeah, and I think and I appreciate that. And I understand exactly what you're saying. But what I also want to do is make sure that that the mayor in his position that preserves his right to appoint who he feels is best. So, as it said, I think the situation needs to be addressed and we need to move on.
I just want to make another comment. I do think that the way to clean this up would be, because there's so much chatter around this and my term being expired, and the other members that were not present, so there was not a quorum. I just think to make it right, in the transparency of the public, that we do remove these and have another vote once that person is reassigned and the other candidate positions are appointed.
Any other comments?
I have a comment. And I just want to reiterate that Alderman McGee wasn't present at our last BOMA meeting in which we all had a lengthy conversation about the Alderman McGee's term expiring. So she was unaware of that. And also, I don't believe that there's anything in our ordinances or anything that says that Alderman McGee couldn't continue to serve on the board, but it just has to go through a proper election.
Right.
That's correct.
That is correct.
We ready to vote? Yep. We're going to take all night getting the agenda approved. All right.
So
we're voting to remove ordinance number 1676 from the agenda for tonight. Okay. All right.
That actually said approval of the agenda.
It says removed from agenda.
Yeah, so that's.
Oh, it doesn't. I'm sorry, it doesn't on.
Yeah,
it doesn't
I
on
don't see
my.
that either. It just says approved.
So we just voted to remove item 1676 from the agenda. Let's check. And I've been told that the display is working for Tullahoma Utilities Authority now. There it is. So that motion carries 6-1.
Approval. Okay.
So we're going to make a motion for the next three?
Yeah, can we lump those all?
I think we can. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
That's 1677, 1678, and 1679, all for the same reasons.
Yep.
So there's a total of 4. Right, okay.
Yeah, there's a total of 4. All right, so if there's no other discussion. What? She's still typing. So a motion and a second to remove those 3 items. If there's no other discussion, let's vote.
It still says approval of the agenda on mine.
Yeah, it's still saying the same thing.
On ours, it says remove ordinance 67, 68, and 69.
Yeah.
79.
Does it, I'm just curious, on y'all's screen, does it just say motion to amend approval of the agenda?
You can look up there and see it.
Okay. It just doesn't show.
It's in tiny. It's in tiny print though. So
Yes. It's right below it.
all right. So those motions, that motion carries also 6-1. That brings us to any other motions to change, move anything around on the agenda. If not, let's have a vote on the agenda. Approval of the agenda
As amended.
as amended. Yeah. And that motion carries 7-0. All right. That brings us to reports from Aldermen. I'll start with Alderman Byrd.
Thank you. I'll try and keep this one quick. The Arts Council is working with the Tennessee Whiskey Trail to set a date for the official unveiling of the new mural, even though it is on display. They're targeting early this spring. Their tree board, Tullahoma has been recognized as a tree city for the 29th year, and a growth award for the 6th year. That is 6 years in a row. Is that correct? Okay, gotcha. The Arts Council and Tree Board is going to have a collaboration with the Fine Arts Center to have an Arbor Day event, the Art of Trees. You can check the city's Facebook page for information on how to submit art to be shown at that event. And then the airport, continuing discussions on finding an FAA or aeronautics specialist attorney to assist in approving new lease agreements. And the Economic Development Corporation, Director North has been appointed by the governor to the Workforce Development Board for the state. So we're happy to hear that she is being recognized at a state level. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wilson.
Thanks, Mayor. I would like to first just ask the public to remember the Hunter Norris family in your prayers. His friends and his work family, all please remember them in your prayers, as we're shocked to hear of his passing. He was a pillar in this community, very instrumental in the soapbox derby, also in the cycling community. So I just ask for prayers for his family. And secondly, I attended the Tullahoma Legislative Breakfast on Friday at the Atlantic. It was well attended by local stakeholders and community leaders. We heard from Senator Janice Bowling and Representative Rush Bricken, and it was a valuable opportunity to engage directly on legislative priorities impacting Tullahoma. And I'll have to also add that the seafood place catered the breakfast there, and the shrimp and grits were very good. That's all I have.
Alderman McGee.
I have nothing to report tonight. Thank you.
Alderman Mathis.
I did attend a week or so ago the Sports Council, and it is a fabulous thing to attend and watch. A lot of those players that got inducted into the Sports Council, I had them on my team, so I know they're good ball players at least. And but we had a good time, we had a good turnout, good food, and the Sports Council group does an outstanding job with this. So it was really good to see.
Alderman Glick.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, I guess, as for my report. And one of them, I'm sure everybody or a lot of people have heard. I was kind of surprised by it this weekend when they talked about our potential water problems. And then something just now, and since Mr. Potter was here, I hate to put you on the spot, maybe you can help us. While I was sitting here tonight, somebody just sent me an urgent message from the Manchester Times that says Duck River Utility has run into some unanticipated difficulty while repairing their leak. They cannot supply water to Manchester nor Tullahoma at this time. And it said we're currently relying on the water we have saved in our city water tanks. Do we need to warn the public? Is there something we should be concerned about? It sounds like it here. Is there anything we need to know?
Mr. Potter, you want to address that since you're here?
Thank you, Mayor. Alderman. Just received an update. Well, let me step back and tell what has happened. Since Winter Storm Fern a couple of weeks ago, the ground froze. When that happens, this happens every winter. When it thaws out, softens up, pipes start to shift, crack, break. So Tullahoma alone has been losing about 700,000 gallons extra per day. In addition to that, Duck River Utility Commission had a small leak. They were losing probably less than 100,000 gallons per day. Well, today when they went to make that repair, they ran into some issues. But the good news is that I just got notified that they're tightening the last bolts on this repair. So hopefully water will be flowing back to the tanks very quickly. But yes, we need to be conserving water to stabilize the system and to refill our tanks that we've been taking out from the past few hours. Okay. Hope that helps.
Yeah, that's one of the things we need to alert the citizens to as soon as possible if we need to conserve water.
Yeah, so TUA, we've been communicating on Facebook, and then the last message we sent out, we went live on LightTube 6, 15, and 23 to ask for water conservation.
Okay, good. Any way to get the word out is good.
Yeah, I
Do
agree.
you have any idea how long it'll take to get our situation fixed?
The 700,000 gallons that we're losing per day, I do not have a time estimate on that. We're continually searching every day. We found one today. A customer called in on West Lincoln, was a 8-inch main break. So we're on it. You know, it's just that's what happens when the ground shifts. Thank you.
Thank you. And the other thing, I've had several people ask me, and I think I've seen some internet activity on it. They are asking about the RFQ that we had put out about and the HR firm, independent HR firm. And I was wondering if we can get an update from staff on where that stands. I haven't seen anything on it.
So to my knowledge, we received the RFPs back. They were distributed to all of us, I believe, by email by Ms. Wilson, and our board has taken no action on it.
Oh, I have not. I don't think I got that email, Ms. Wilson.
Is anyone else? Because I don't believe I have.
If you could try again tomorrow, I guess I haven't received any email.
Maybe it was just sent to me, but I received a copy several weeks ago.
I got
didn't
that.
get it.
I got that. It had the price breakdown of 3 or 4 different firms. I
we
don't
had
remember
4
the exact
responses.
number. Okay,
Yeah,
then it was 4.
I didn't receive anything. If you could please try again. Was there a packet? Was it their bid packets?
The bid packets were attached to, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to see that. Maybe we can get it on a future agenda.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that too. There's been so much email traffic.
Yeah, there has been a lot of traffic on that. And
a lot of things.
And it's kind of good to announce it here and then everybody here at the same time.
Anything else, Mr. Glick?
No, that's all I have tonight.
Mr. Toma.
I appreciate being last. I'll keep it to a minimum. I attended the chamber, and I guess it wasn't a meeting. I guess it was a celebration, and it is extremely exciting and impressive to see the quality of people who contribute to this community. And, everybody there was a contributor, but the people who won the various awards were outstanding. I also attended the mayor's breakfast, and it was very good. Seafood shop did an excellent job. But it also, again, was a room full of people who were interested and had an interest in our community, and I think that's a very valuable thing to bring out. Our legislators are in a position that we have to constantly stay on, which I'm sure they're really excited about it, about things that we feel that are important for the city that we really need help for from the state. And I think one of the emphasis and the thing that I am particularly interested in is to find funding to widen Cedar Lane. But there were other items that were brought to their attention, and I think it was a good opportunity. I thank the mayor for including me in that. Other than that, just a quick comment in regards to the airport. I stopped by there 2 weeks ago just to check with Ashley, who is the person that we hired, and ended up running into Carla Smith, which is the first time I have ever met her. I spent an hour and a half there. I was appreciative of what they shared with me, and I think that it's something that we also ought to appreciate. Carla Smith actually was the person who found the issues that had been driving the issues with the airport, and I totally appreciate her commitment. I mean, they don't get paid to be on that board. Also want to remind that those board members, guess what, are appointed by the Aldermen of Tullahoma. So we do have an influence on that board. Also, Ashley, I was really impressed with her. She addressed issues as ours and we, which did express to me it wasn't theirs or out of her. She takes a sincere interest in it by the terminology that she used, and I appreciate that. No other comments, sir.
Thank you. Well, that brings us to the mayor report, and I apologize, I know we're going a long night. Mine's going to be a little longer, too. The first thing I just want to mention is we got some feedback from the City of Fayetteville's fire department today. If you have not seen that news on TV, they had a pretty devastating fire in their downtown square and lost numerous buildings. A team from Tullahoma responded to them in mutual aid, and we got a thank you note from Chief Bergman with Fayetteville Fire Department to commend the team that was sent. Tullahoma sent a mutual aid team from B Shift with the following firefighters: Deputy Chief Jason Dameron, Captain Ed Host, Lieutenant Craig Stroop, Engineer Krista Teresa, Engineer Ethan Husky, Engineer Josh Nelms, and Firefighter Garrett Mathis. And that was Chief. Congratulations. We thank you for your men. Do you mind just explaining to the board and the city really quickly the difficult job that they had to do there?
I hope this is on. The difficult job with downtown type buildings of that nature are the fact that they're so interconnected. To get the fire to stop, there's a lot of heat conduction that goes between those. They did an excellent job of getting it stopped. Very happy that we were able to help Fayetteville out. They spent probably about 6 hours out there with them. It's an amazing stop. Most of the times you get those downtown buildings like that, they have interconnecting walls with wood that goes between them. It's hard to get them out. So luckily we were able to do it, and of course Fayetteville, Huntsville was there, and quite a few of the volunteer departments that were around them. They all did a really good job. Well,
Congrats to your team. Give them our thanks. I also attended, I guess, just last Friday evening. It's been a long week. Attended the Tullahoma Chamber of Commerce annual celebration. That was a great event. And excuse me. They recognized many of our businesses and individuals devoted to doing great things for Tullahoma. So congratulate to the Chamber on an outstanding year and to all the winners. And I also attended the Tullahoma Sports Banquet. I want to congratulate the new inductees and also just a special notice they had a special honoree, which was THS freshman Price Harden, who is a multi-sport athlete and is the 2025 TMSSAA state champion in shot put. And it was also a really cold night, but yet people came out, but it was cold that night. So I want to give an update on a couple of things here. I want to give an update on the status of the Planning Commission appointments and share some thoughts I have on the process. The Planning Commission is responsible for several important planning decisions in our city, such as rezoning, approval of lot arrangements known as plats, and for approval of new subdivisions and other developments. The Planning Commission is also responsible for development of some of our planning documents and regulations, such as the comprehensive plan, the land use map, which helps set future zoning, subdivision regulations, and the city transportation plan. These duties are not just set by the City of Tullahoma, but they are set by state law. And this ensures that planning and development process is consistent across the state. Under state law, the mayor is given the responsibility to appoint 5 members of our 7-member commission. The mayor also serves on the Planning Commission. The 7th seat is assigned to a member of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, which we will be appointing later this evening. Our city ordinances reflect the state law and also give the mayor the authority to make these appointments. Clearly, the law supports the position that the mayor of the city is to take a leading role in the planning of the city through appointments to the Planning Commission, and I believe this is the expectation of the average voter as well. A major point in my platform was to ensure that the city planning takes into account the needs of all of our citizens, those who live in the largest homes, those in typical homes, and those who live in higher density housing, such as duplexes or apartments. We need housing for all of our citizens at all income levels. Therefore, I believe it's important for the composition of our Planning Commission to reflect that balance as well. Recently, several of our aldermen brought agenda items with criticism of our process to appoint planning commissioners and with delays in appointments. I'll take the criticism on the delays, and I'm working to fix that. But I want to speak about the process for just a few moments. It was asserted that we need more transparency in appointing planning commissioners, and for that reason we should require all applicants to be presented before the entire Board of Mayor and Aldermen before the mayor makes the appointment. That sounds good on the surface, but it has some real issues. I want you to consider for a moment what my options are when considering a candidate. What are some of the options I might turn down a candidate for the Planning Commission? First of all, the candidate may simply be unqualified for the position. This may be because of skill or education levels, or it may be because of other reasons such as a conflict of interest or failure to reside in the city limits as required. Second, the candidate may have a very different vision for the city and its planning than the mayor does. Mayors take a leading role in the planning of our city, and therefore it is natural for mayors to select candidates in agreement with their vision. Finally, a candidate might be turned down because there are multiple qualified candidates, but they are not the most qualified or the best fit of the available candidates. So again, the criticism has been that there's not enough transparency in the appointment process. And so I have to ask, where is the transparency missing? There are only a few things to be transparent about. Number one, who did the mayor select and what were their qualifications? I'm happy when I announce the candidate to give the reasons why I think they're qualified and why I think they would be the best fit. And I think I've been doing that and will gladly continue to do that. The second thing I could be transparent, I suppose, is that all the people I considered and did not pick and the reasons I didn't select them. Is that really the kind of transparency we want? Where good citizens raise their hands as potential volunteer, and then if not selected, the mayor has to recount publicly the reason they were not selected. One of the reasons it's hard to recruit volunteers to serve on our boards and commissions is because of the current climate of negativity and constant criticism in our politics. I have talked to multiple people in recent years to encourage them to run for office and serve on a public board or commission, and they tell me I don't want to get involved in all that trouble. So is that the kind of transparency we want for the mayor to publicly reveal the names of all the people he considered and didn't select, and to publicly list the reasons he didn't select them? That's not transparency, that's cruelty. The simple fact of the matter is that it can be difficult to find and recruit good candidates to serve on these commissions, especially in today's climate. Sometimes the perfect candidate shows up and volunteers, but often you have to go out and search for them and convince them. The first time I served on the Planning Commission years ago, I was personally recruited by Mayor Bisbee. I'm engaged in that same process right now, and I think I will be able to fill those positions soon. We will elect a representative from the Board of Mayor and Aldermen tonight. We will have enough people for a quorum, and we will be able to conduct the city's business. So as soon as I select the new commissioners, I will appoint them and invite them to come introduce themselves to the full board at the next available meeting. But I will not be making any public comments about others who applied and my reasons for not selecting them, other than to thank them for their interest and thank them for their willingness to serve the citizens of Tullahoma. And I want to thank everyone in our city who volunteers, not only on our city boards and commissions, but in all our service and charitable organizations in the city. Thank you for what you do for all of us each day. Now, I also want to make a few comments about several activities and issues involving our Tullahoma Municipal Airport. Thursday evening, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen met in a study session that had been delayed from our previously canceled board meeting during the winter storm we had a few weeks ago. Our topic of discussion was the pending bill for the environmental cleanup from the fuel spill. We had an excellent meeting with a review of the events of the night of the spill, an explanation from our county EMA official on how spills are handled, and why the decision was made to call on OES to perform the spill cleanup. We also reviewed the budget of the airport, the city's liability for the event, and we were presented options by our finance director on how we could pay the bill. The payment is one of our agenda items for tonight's meeting. Going forward, we still have work to do to bring our airport and its operations up to the standards that we expect for Tullahoma. Last summer, our airport authority chairman and several others discovered serious issues with the operation and safety of our airport. They have been working hard to discover and rectify these problems, and I thank them for their efforts. Our airport authority and many of the airport tenants have also reached out to the city and to me personally to request help in getting all the airport operations back on track. The Tullahoma Airport is a very important economic and transportation asset for the city of Tullahoma. The airport has over 26,000 operations annually on its 4 runways. It is home to the Beechcraft Heritage Museum and home of several multi-million-dollar businesses. The airport has an estimated economic impact of over $21 million and 149 jobs, but if properly developed, the airport impact could be much larger. In order to help our airport recover and grow into the strong transportation asset that Tullahoma needs, I'm establishing the Airport Steering Committee in the next few weeks. The Airport Steering Committee will be composed of individuals with strong backgrounds in airport operations, safety, economic development, and airport businesses. I'm tasking the steering committee to meet with key stakeholders in the Tullahoma Airport and perform a full inventory of safety, security, operations, finances, and economic issues at the airport, and develop a prioritized list of recommendations to remediate existing problems and improve performance into the future. Recommendations will also be requested for improvements in the structure, organization, and policies of the airport authority itself and agreements with the City of Tullahoma to assure long-term accountability on safety and financial accounting. After the most pressing needs are identified and communicated, I will ask them to develop a long-term strategic plan for the airport with a list of prioritized activities and investments for facility infrastructure and economic development. And after this important task is completed, the steering committee will conclude its work. This will not be a permanent committee, and it will not be a committee in competition with the airport authority, but rather to help us restructure it. Tullahoma has a long aerospace history, and we have many highly qualified people in this field. I'm confident the Tullahoma Airport can grow into a strong, financially independent resource for the City of Tullahoma and our surrounding region. I appreciate your attention, and that concludes my report. Is there a city administrator report this evening, Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. As y'all know, Jason's out for the foreseeable week. He's went to Florida to meet his new grandson. Hopefully that's happened by now, but don't know for sure. I haven't had an update. Other than that, I have no report.
Thank you, sir. So that brings us into our consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? We have a motion and a second. There's no comments. Let's vote.
That's the meeting now, yeah.
Sorry. That motion carries 6-1 with one abstention. That brings us to unfinished business. Item number 2 on our agenda, ordinance number 1674, an ordinance to amend the zoning map of the City of Tullahoma, Tennessee, as set forth in Tullahoma Municipal Code to rezone a parcel located at 0 East Deckard Street from General Commercial C2 to Neighborhood Commercial C3 for passage on the second and final reading. Do we have a motion to approve that? We have a motion and a second. Mr. Luthi.
Yeah. This item is brought before you. It received positive recommendation from our Planning Commission. This item is located on East Deckard Street. This is one of a multitude of parcels. This is a story you've heard before. These were originally created as a residential subdivision. These lots were created, sold. Many of the people who purchased these lots bought multiple lots and had them grouped together and taxed as a single parcel. But throughout the years, some of these parcels got rezoned to commercial. Even though they're zoned C2 commercial, neighboring lots of the same subdivision have houses on them. These ones are oftentimes purchased and were purchased from someone who had a home that was on a larger combination of multiple of these lots. They have sold the vacant lots that they were combining with theirs to be used for residential development, as was the intent when they were created. But throughout the years, they have been rezoned to commercial. East Deckard Street is one of the best examples of that, where if you drive down Deckard Street, you'll see that most of the lots contain a home, but they're actually zoned commercial. So this is another one of those that has been brought before the Planning Commission to have that changed to C3. Due to the proximity to other commercial lots as well as the industrial rail yard that runs along the backside of these lots, it's my opinion that these are best suited in the C3 zone, which allows them to be used for a residence as they were originally intended, but also leaves them open for possible future development. It would not require someone to come back in before this board to change that zoning back to commercial. Our C3 zone is intended to be a transition zone, and I can't find a better area for that transition zone to be than Deckard Street, where on one side of the street you have fairly dense single-family residences, and on the other side of these lots you have an industrial rail yard. I think the C3 use is an appropriate designation for these lots. So you've got an application to rezone one of those lots before you today. That lot has already been reviewed by Planning Commission, and this received its first reading at the first Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting in January. The subsequent second reading and approval was postponed because of the snowstorm, so you are seeing that today.
Thank you, sir. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Luthi? Any comments on this one? If not, let's vote. And that motion carries 7-0. We've removed items 5 through 8, so that brings us down to item 9 on our new business. I'm sorry?
Item number 4.
I thought we got that. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, number 4. Sorry. New business number 4. Ordinance number 1675, an ordinance to adopt the 2045 comprehensive plan. Do we have a motion and a second to discuss that? We have a motion. Do we have a second? Oh, I'm sorry. I only saw the one. All right. Mr. Toma.
Yeah. I've had an opportunity to look through this, and I probably should have caught it when we were approving the agenda. There's a lot of moving parts to this. My concern is I have questions, and probably more questions than realistically that maybe want to spend time on. There's a lot of comments about putting in some new committees, so forth and so on. So I guess my question is, how committed are we? If we approve this, can't make any changes to it? I'm just not, I appreciate all the effort. Obviously, there's a lot of effort put into it. But I'm having a hard time digesting it all. I wish we'd had an opportunity to have a study session.
I was going to ask about, did we have a study session with the Board of Mayor and Aldermen?
So with the way this document is a product of the Planning Commission, the Planning Commission had multiple study sessions on this document. When it gets passed to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, your task is simply to either adopt the document or send it back to the Planning Commission for further revision. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen is not actually given the ability to directly make changes, as this document is under the purview of the Planning Commission. So with that in mind, we did not have any study sessions for the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, because it is, rather than recommending specific changes, it would just be a vote to either approve it or deny the approval, at which point it would go back to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission would be the one tasked to make those changes.
I kind of had the same thought as Alderman Toma when this came up. We've been so busy with so many other items, I haven't went back and looked at it. Even though I'm on the Planning Commission, I can't even remember all the stuff we did in it. And I wonder if we ought not just have this on a study session.
I believe we did have a joint study session, though, because I remember
that's what I was trying to remember.
Being here and missing an airport meeting for that.
Okay.
It was.
Was that before or after we were in our final form here?
I think it was before the final form, because I think the comment was there were still some revisions to be made, but it was still very informative to have that joint study session.
Yeah, we had a joint study session. I think we were making comments. We had I think it's a chance the alderman had to talk to the planning commissioners and try to give them some feedback of what we wanted to see in. I do not think they made any changes after that, as far as I know. I think it was pretty much in its final form at that point. I don't recall.
I feel like maybe we made a couple of small changes, but
maybe, yeah.
I think we did.
But
I guess my question is, I may have missed it or slept through it or something on that line that could possibly have happened. But looking at it as it is now, again, a lot of work was done. It's great history, but I had questions in regards to it looked like they were requesting various committees and it looked like to me there was some duplication with the committees versus what we already have in line. Plus the other question, again, if we adopt this, what is our obligation? Now, most of this stuff was suggestions. Is that primarily, or we have to follow exactly as it's there, or is it something for, by the time this thing is completed, I'll be 6 feet under. So, but it does affect my.
Mr. Luthy, can you give us a summary of how the plan can be changed and how it's used?
So, generally, a common planning practice is to review a comprehensive plan every 5 years, with a larger overhaul done every 10. However, this is a comprehensive plan. It is a living document. At any time, the Planning Commission can make amendments and make changes. I will have to double check, but I believe even that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen can request the Planning Commission to review the comprehensive plan if it is not satisfactory. This document, once it is approved, is not set in stone. It is actually best practice to constantly be updating the comprehensive plan to keep pace with the development that is going on in the city and to make sure that it accurately represents both the values of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen and the Planning Commission and the residents of Tullahoma.
Well, I guess my question is this more of a guide?
The
or is this what I'm saying is it has a lot of suggestions in there or things they would like to see happen. None of my concern is, are they suggestions or are we obligate to do them?
So with the comprehensive plan, it is a guide. It is for lack of a better term, a suggestion. It is where you see the city going and where the city looks to grow in the next 10 to 20 years. It is not a requirement. There is nothing in our state law that says that we must 100% adhere to what is stated in our comprehensive plan. Now, when you are making decisions, specifically when it comes to rezonings or future land use designation, if your comprehensive plan and your future land use map has been voted on and approved to designate a certain piece of property for a certain use, and you go against that, that is subject to review because you're not having cohesion with what you have adopted. But it is not set in stone. You can edit it at any time. You can make changes at any time. If the document reflects a current direction for the city now, and in 2 years that direction has changed, that document can be revised. It's not.
But it seems like the revisions are made by the planning commission, not the board.
But the board has to approve them.
So the board has to approve anything that's changed in here one way or the other?
Correct. So with this document, the Planning Commission is the stewards of this document. However, only the Board of Mayor and Aldermen has the authority and the ability to approve or deny the document. It is the Planning Commission's responsibility to maintain the document and update that document, but ultimately only the Board of Mayor and Aldermen has the authority to approve it and to codify it.
Ms. Wilson.
I just wanted to clarify too that so this comes before us tonight, and we can choose to say yes or no. We can also choose to send it back to the Planning Commission with recommendations on what changes we'd like to see, in which the Planning Commission, they don't have to do, but they can consider what the Board of Mayor and Aldermen requests, recommendations might be.
Yes.
Correct.
We don't have to.
And also there is case law that says that that it's maybe for the Planning Commission, when it's voted on, they have to consider what's in the land use map, and they have to consider things that are in the plan. We all do, but however, as the BOMA, as the legislative body, we can consider whether or not that any zoning changes or whatnot align with what our infrastructure currently is. Like if we, just because it might be in the land use map that something is designated as high density residential, if we don't have the capabilities in place, schools, water, infrastructure, then we don't have to pass it through. I mean, it's our prerogative to do what's best for the city.
Mr. Lick. Mr. Lick.
Yeah, I'll just give hopefully a very brief explanation of where we've been and where we've come through on this. It wasn't anything, although it's kind of popped up on the agenda suddenly. We didn't have a study session or hadn't had one in a while. It is something that's been in the works for years and years and years. This plan is initially to replace the 2011 plan. I believe it was called the 2011 plan. And originally, before I was an alderman, I think probably even when I was working for the city at the time, there was work on revising the 2011 plan to adopt a new 2040 plan, is what it was called. So, so that's where it started. And well, the 2040 plan was turned down by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen and sent back to the Planning Commission to redo, but it also created a group called the Comprehensive CPDC, I can't remember what the letters are offhand, but to review the plan and make a new plan and present it to the Planning Commission and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. But the first task they had to do was, as a stopgap measure, is to revise the 2011 plan to correct some issues in there that were that needed to be to make some zoning issues problems we had go away. So that we made those corrections first. I was on the CPDC. We made those corrections to 2011 plan. It was adopted by the Planning Commission and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and that's what we're using now, the revised 2011 plan. The second task the CPDC had was to create or update the 2040 plan, which was to be called the 2045 plan. So it's a 20-year plan. So there's 5 years slipped away from us. And so the CPDC worked diligently at it. They had a 7-member committee appointed by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and they they met once a week for several months or maybe over a year. And what they did was they took the 2040 plan that was created by an independent contractor. They took the 2011 plan and the 2011 revised plan and combined them all and came up with the 2045 plan. They also called in subject matter experts to bring them information, and all the meetings were open to the citizens to come and comment. So that is where this 2045 plan came from, in short. So it has been well thought out, and like Mr. Luthi said, it is a living document and can be updated, and I'm sure that will be done. But I think it's time to move forward on it one way or another. I have no problem with another study session if the board feels that's a good thing. But I think we're probably all pretty close to knowing what we want to do on it. So I say we just go ahead and.
Alderman Byrd.
Thank you to the CPDC and to the Planning Commission for their work on this. To speak a little bit to what Bush was talking about, I believe that might also be answered with the use of could in here. I've noticed that's used a lot, so it's not directly locking us into most things, which I do appreciate that. Also, speaking with Kelly North and Beverly Lee, they are also very appreciative to the changes that were made in the section on economic development. It has made it so that it's a little bit looser in what is requested or required there, so that is very much appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Any other?
The only other comment, it looked to me like there's a lot drilled down to the downtown area, which I was a little concerned that Tullahoma just isn't downtown. I didn't see any direct planning in regards to where our community is actually going. I may have missed something in there, but there was a lot of comments. I thought the great idea for having living quarters over some of the buildings and things along that line, but I thought there was a lot addressed with the downtown area without addressing the fact that we do have our communities growing out Jackson Street. I mean, what's our support for those businesses and things along that line? That was a concern.
Any other discussion?
I think Brittany may have had something to say.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
No. Okay.
You said what I was going to say.
All right. So if there's no other discussion, and are we prepared to vote tonight?
I would like to make an amendment. Is that
we cannot amend the document? What do you want?
To request the Planning Commission? We can make amendments to it and request the Planning Commission make the changes, I believe.
Mr. Luthi.
So you can make comments and then advise the Planning Commission with those comments. But it is up to their discretion whether or not they would like to
I
include
understand
those
that.
changes.
Yeah.
See, that's my concern.
Now, I would like to point out that with this document, once this is to be when this is adopted, I think the biggest changes that we'll see is that this will call upon revisions in our subdivision regulations, revisions in our zoning ordinance, revisions in our future land use map, and revisions in our current zoning map. I think some of the changes identified in this document through the multiple groups that have worked on this in the years at this point that CPDC has put into this document, I think a lot of those changes, from my review of it, will alleviate a lot of the issues that we've been facing. But with this document, once this gets approved, it's not just going to get put on a shelf and looked at, when we make rezoning decisions. I mean, this is going to have significant impact on all of our ordinances that we have, primarily zoning and subdivision regulations, and will require those to be updated, which will be the next task that I'll be faced with, is getting those updated to reflect the changes in the direction that the comprehensive plan is going. So with that in mind, that this won't stop at the comprehensive plan. We'll see further.
So if I might offer a suggestion before, it's already 7 o'clock. We've been here an hour and a half, and we've got a lot of agenda left. To me, we need to do one of two things. We either need to delay approval of it, or we need to turn it down for now. And hold on, I would really not want to sit here and try to come to an agreement on all the comments. I think if we have comments, there's no issue with sending those individually to the Planning Commission. Would you agree with that, Mr. Luthi?
If you would like, you could email me your comments. I can prepare those into a document that will be presented at the next Planning Commission meeting.
So now the only question in my mind, if we do that, is do we want to decline it now? Do we want to vote it down now and just send it back for revisions? Or do we just want to defer it and send comments and wait and see if they want to make any additional changes to the document?
One suggestion might be that this is a ordinance with 2 readings. We pass it tonight on the first reading.
Send our comments.
Send our comments in, and then see what they want to do. And then let the Planning Commission take those comments before the second reading.
Yeah. I like that plan.
That's good.
Any other comments then? That being the case, we just take the vote on here, and you're responsible for sending your comments to the Planning Commission. All right. Well, if that's the case, let's vote. So on first reading, that passes 6-1. All right. Now, skipping down to item 9.
I don't know what they're doing with it.
Resolution number 2040, a resolution by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to approve a UDAG loan application for the reserve at Capewood LLC for up to $250,000. Do we have a staff report on this?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Ms. Wilson.
Mayor, members of the board, the reserve at Capewood, most of you have probably seen it. It's gone down Cedar Lane. It's right across from Continental Apartments. There are 2 buildings that are, one of them's almost finished and the other one not too far behind. And the contractor is looking for interim financing to use for building the 3rd building while he is starting to lease the other 2 buildings. And the collateral on this would be actually the property itself.
Okay.
What kind of loan do they have on it now?
They have another form of financing. We would be second, and there is sufficient.
So we'd be a second position on a loan. What's the? I guess the question in my mind, they're already close to completion, but you're saying this is to fund another one?
Right, the 3rd building that's proposed there.
How would this affect our capacity in regards to UDAG funding?
We currently have about $850,000. We would still have $600,000 the ability to fund 2 to 3 more, and that fund revolves. We're receiving payments every month. We receive about $10,000.
I think it's really interesting if they fund it to them without a UDAG. I guess it's because it's a good deal for them to do that. Is that primarily it, or is it a financial issue with them?
I believe it's a timing because then the 1st building is almost ready to lease, and I think the second was maybe 2 months behind that. So I think you're going to see a good turn once he gets it all moving. They sound like gorgeous units, 1 and 2 bedroom units. There will be 43 units total.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm
Jeff.
sorry. Is it, what kind of length is this loan for? What's normal?
10 years.
10 years.
Can we get a motion in a second on this, by the way? Okay. So have we done real estate loans with UDAG like this before? I don't recall ever having one like this, but I haven't been here that long.
Specifically like this. What we're looking at here is a combination of job creation, housing, and the impact economically with the property tax growth that we're going to get.
Okay. Is the applicant present?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Remind me, who are the members of our loan committee?
Myself, the TADC director, and 2 citizens, and we have 1 vacancy right now.
Okay.
Who are the citizens?
Pat Williams, the retired finance director, and Dwight Miller, who is a retired business director from TUA.
It just seems like a little bit of an unusual one to me.
Yeah, really. Really.
Any other comments, questions? All right, nobody. If that's the case, I'll call for a vote. That motion fails 4-3. So maybe, if we got a little more information, a little more explanation from the applicant, we might be able to think about that, but looks like we have some reservations about that. All right, but moving on to item 10. A request from the city administrator to item number 26-09, a request from the city administrator to approve a pay adjustment for the city judge position from $16,500 to $18,500 to take effect after the next city judge election on August 6, 2026. Do we have a motion and second on that? We do. Any discussion on that? All right, let's vote. 7 yes on that one. That motion carries. Item number 26-10, a request from the city administrator to approve a 12-month extension to the service agreement with TUA for the broadcasting of city meetings and authorize the mayor to execute the same. Do we have a motion on second on that? A motion from Alderman Thomas, second from Alderman Glick. Any discussion on that one? All right, let's go ahead and vote. That motion carries 7-0. Now, Mr. Potter can go home now if he wants to. One more. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't read ahead. A request from the city administrator to approve the land donation of 8 acres adjacent to the Short Springs Natural Area from the Tullahoma Utilities Authority to the state of Tennessee. Yes. We have a motion second on that. All right. Any comments on this one? I'll just say I appreciate Ms. Hartsvigson being here to speak to that, and I think it's a great opportunity to improve that Short Springs area.
My comment is thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I would also say thank you, and if anyone has never visited the Short Springs area, Machine Falls, and that whole area up there, it's incredible, and you really should make a point to try to get out there.
It is. It's great. All right, let's vote. Motion passes 7-0. Item number 26-12, a request from the Recreation Department to approve the slide restoration work at Splash Island by Slideways in the amount of $167,329 and authorize the mayor to execute the agreement. Do we have a motion second on that? We do. Motion from Alderman Glick, second by Byrd. Mr. Kraft, you going to give us a report on $167,000 slide?
So everybody knows that the slides are a pretty big deal at Splash Island. Last year was our 10th year we were open. The sun, the freezing temperatures, everything erodes away the clear coat on the fiberglass slides. You've all had a car that the clear coat comes off of, and then on a car it's metal, but on the slides it's fiberglass. And safety is one of the most important things we do there at Splash Island. The slide riders, one of the things kids like to do is they like to hold on and slow themselves down. In your packet, there are photos. We have the slides inspected multiple times. We have throughout its life. Most of the time, it's an easy fix. You can just patch it, smooth it down. You can go. We're at a point where we cannot do that anymore. We're going to have to reglaze the interior. Might as well reglaze the exterior also. The kids that can touch the lower sections of the slide can get the fiberglass splinters in their hands right now. It's definitely a safety issue. We have a reserve account to take care of things like that. This money is budgeted in our reserve account. This will take care of the interior of the slides, the exterior of the slides, and redo the slide tower. There are tread ways on the spiral staircase. It's kind of like when you put sand on the stairs so you don't fall. It has been worn down from probably about 35,000 visitors a year come to Splash Island. So it's had 10 years of use. And like I say, weather, freezing and thawing have also taken its toll. About 10 years is the lifespan. So 2015, we put $3.5 million into the pool. I've replaced a lazy river motor, about $8,000. Last year we did $65,000 worth of work for the 2 main circulating pumps. So if you think about having a car, this is kind of like putting new tires on your car. It's just we need to get a few more miles out of the $3.5 million.
Any other comments?
I have some comments.
Yes,
It's I know that it's a shocking price. However, this Splash Island is such an asset to our community. Kids have their first jobs there. Families gather there. It's a huge asset for our city for multiple reasons. We have to maintain the asset that we have, and so I'm all for it.
All right. Any other comments?
It sounds expensive, but if you look at it, 37,000 people a year for 10 years, 370,000 people. So it's less than 50 cents a visitor. So I think it's a good deal.
All right, let's vote. That motion carries 7-0. Item 26-13, a request to nominate and elect a Board of Mayor and Alderman representative to serve on the Tullahoma Planning Commission. So I guess, first of all, do we have any nominations or volunteers?
I'll nominate Bobby Wilson.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask if Cernobio would like to serve again. You've already got some experience on it, but I didn't want to nominate you without your wanting to.
Yes, I don't mind too.
You want to serve again, Cernobio?
I can, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you can.
All right, so.
I would like to.
Any other nominations?
Okay. I'd like to nominate Cernobio then.
No, okay. I assume that was a nomination. I assume.
I'll withdraw.
Okay.
I didn't know if Cernobio wanted to do it again.
You withdrew your nomination of Ms. Wilson? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then is it by acclamation then?
Yep.
So let's just, do we need a hand vote on that or something? Okay, so we'll just vote on here since it's a single name. We don't have to write. And that passes 6-0 with an abstention by Ms. McGee. Ms. McGee, thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thank y'all.
Item number 26-14, a request from the fire department to approve acceptance of the donated Ram Air gear dryer and washers to the Gary Sinise Foundation, $23,926. Authorize staff to proceed with implementation. Chief, you want to tell us about that?
After we were looking for a washer and dryer in our last budget, we weren't able to get it, so we started looking for alternate ways of funding that goal that we were looking for. Jason Dameron, our deputy chief, we talked to the Ram Air people. They put us in touch with this way of trying to find funds. We actually got to see Gary Sinise in Franklin last year at our fire inspectors conference. Had a really good talk with him, and we just kind of connected together. And he said, "Well, they'll just pay it all." So It's
That is awesome.
they're going to buy the washer and dryer for us and send it to us.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
They do a lot of. I think he does a lot of work for veterans. I mean, he has a great program.
It is Lieutenant Dan.
That's right. That's right. All right, so I guess we need to vote on that. So. And that's 7 yes. Item number 26-15 does not require a vote. There's an appointment open on the Tullahoma Tree Board. Mr. Jack Dayton has applied for that and talked to our tree board chairman, and so I'm happy to announce the appointment of Mr. Jack Dayton to the Tullahoma Tree Board. So that solves that. Number 26-16, a request from the police department to approve the authorization to declare 2003 Dodge Ram 1500 and 2012 Chevy Cruze as surplus vehicles. Chief, you want to say anything? Chief Sons, you want to say anything about that, or?
These two vehicles are just vehicles that were seized in narcotics operations. They were awarded to the city of Tullahoma.
Okay.
So
it's just that money goes into a designated fund, right?
It would go in the drug fund.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we have motion second on that. Let's vote. And that passes 7-0. That brings us to item number 26-17, a request to authorize payment of environmental cleanup expenses resulting from airport fuel spill to Ozone Environmental Service, LLC, OES. And then we've got a follow-on resolution for the loan that would be used to make that payment. So if it's okay with y'all, we can talk about both of those together, because I think it's going to be difficult to separate the issues. So I kind of wanted to ask our city attorney, first of all, if you don't mind, to say a few words about the city's liability or possible liability for this payment.
Yes, Mayor, I'll be glad to do that. So, I mean, we discussed this Thursday night as well, that, you know, we own the airport. We're the property owner of the airport. So obviously there's potential for liability for the city. Also, from the perspective of the employee that caused this accident is a city employee, that also factors in. There's also some other things that would factor into liability here. But the bottom line is, if the airport doesn't pay this, it's going to fall back on the city. So, I mean, we obviously need to have an active role in this for more reasons than one. But one of the things that is a question to me, the FAA has such strict regulations on airports in general. And as I've stated to you guys, I'm not an FAA attorney, and I'm by no means an FAA expert. But what I can tell you is this isn't as simple as picking up the phone and calling the FAA and saying, hey, we had a fuel spill. Can the airport pay for that? They're going to want a copy of the bill. They're going to go through it line item by line item, because their question is going to be whether every single thing that was paid for is related to a legitimate airport purpose. In other words, for example, in a pond, you know, you can clean up the fuel out of that, but if you replace bushes and different things like that, what they're going to look at is, did you make it better than it was before? Or did you put it right exactly back how it was? But they're going to pick it apart is the bottom line. And so, again, I'm not an expert on this, but I think there is a legitimate question, whether it sounds reasonable to you or not, there's a legitimate question about whether or not the FAA would come in, regardless of what we agree to with the city. And this isn't a question as to the legality of the loan. It's a question as to whether or not the FAA is going to allow the airport to repay us, because they have such strict regulations on what the airport can spend its money on. So, you know, there are different ways to structure this, but from a liability standpoint, yes, the city could be liable for, I think, more reasons than even what we're discussing here tonight. But we can certainly loan the airport. The question is not whether or not we can borrow the money and let the airport borrow it through us. We can certainly do that. My concern is making sure that if they agree to pay us back, that we're actually going to get paid back. So that's why I recommended to you that we reach out and get a recommendation from an FAA attorney that understands the regulations that the FAA is going to look at. Because again, I do not think we can just say to them, well, it's just a fuel spill cleanup. They're not just going to say, okay, pay that bill. They're going to say, let me see the bill. Let me see every single thing that you paid for and determine whether or not I can tie that back into the airport before they'll approve that.
So I'd also like, Dr. Barr, do you mind, are you able to speak a little bit to the airport budget?
Well, yes, sir. Let me just say that when this all came up, and
By the way, I'm asking Mr. Bard for those online because Mr. Bard's a member of the airport authority. So, Dr. Bard,
I had a long discussion with Carl about this and what we could do about this. And in the middle of that discussion, a case came up in California that apparently has a bearing. The Santa Monica Airport is being closed in California, and the city of Santa Monica wanted to take the funds that would airport owned by the city of Santa Monica, just like the Tullahoma Airport is here by Tullahoma, and the Santa Monica wanted to take the funds that they got generated from selling the airport to use that to the benefit of the city and to, I guess, build businesses and everything where the airport was. And the FAA came out and said, absolutely not. You cannot do that. Whatever money you make from selling the Santa Monica Airport has to go to airport-related activities. And the city responded, but we won't have an airport anymore, and the FAA's response was, that's too bad.
Well, so the question, and that's good. I appreciate that information. The question I was really wanting to ask is, or ask you to report is, what is the financial status of the airport authority just in terms today of its ability to make a payment on the fuel spill?
If the FAA allowed it, and I suspect that they will not based on that case, but if they allowed it, the airport is actually still a little bit on the negative side. It's not actually generating any income right now. It's getting closer because we're revising the fuel prices, the leases, and all like that, and we're actually are going to be coming to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to ask that we are able to hire an aviation attorney for the airport to look at all these FAA regulations and basically write our leases, our ground leases, things like that, so we can start to make the airport profitable. But as of today, the airport is actually not profitable.
Ms. Wilson, what is our annual? I think I know, but I forgot to carry it with me. Our annual appropriation this year for the Airport Authority.
Ours is, we're paying subsidizing by $156,000.
$156,000.
Giving $16,000, and then the airport is still losing.
And then has that been consistent over the last few years?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
It's been increasing, hasn't it?
Mr. Byrd. I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to add to what Dr. Bard said. The other thing with the airport currently operating at a negative, the airport does go through a cyclical income similar to the city. During the colder winter months, they're not selling as much fuel. There aren't as many GA pilots. It's typically, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's typically around daylight savings is when it starts to warm up and more pilots are flying. So that's where, for a few months out of the year, I believe it's expected to operate in the red, which is just where we're at right now. We're going through the coldest month.
Ms. Wilson? Oh, I'm sorry. Were you done, Matt? I'm sorry. You go ahead.
I had one more thing to add to that. I also agree with Ms. Hoskins. There is some concern about grant assurance violations. I believe that the airport would also be allowed to pay for parts of this from the FAA's point of view. There are definitely parts that would not be. My question for Ms. Wilson is this something that if we passed the bond issuance, we then pass a amended budget to pay for these? Is that something that once we had the FAA or an FAA attorney's opinion, we could then decide how much the airport would be funding of this?
The problem we're going to run into is we can't pay the bill at all until we actually authorize how we're paying it. I have to have some kind of a budget line item somewhere to pay in an agreement from this board on where I'm going to pay. You're going to pay OVS from.
Gotcha. But is that something that we could start by the city funding that repayment and then later adjust that for the airport to cover their share of it?
Well, when you actually issue this, you're going to set up where you're going to charge OES's payment, which I assume is going to be the airport because it belongs in the books with the airport. It was an airport spill on airport property. When you go to do bookkeeping, you really are setting up anything that's related to an entity stays together, just like I don't put garbage trucks in the fire department budget. just because they have money.
Okay.
Hold on.
One last thing to add in there. The penalty for grant assurance violations can be suspension of all current and future grants to the airport. The FAA can enforce corrective actions, and the FAA can also have fines for up to 3 times the amount of the revenue diversion. That's my main concern right here is if we say that the airport is going to pay for all of this and the FAA does step in, we could be faced with an even larger bill from them.
Ms. Wilson.
Obviously, first and foremost, OES has performed work, to rectify the fuel spill, and they 100% need to be paid. And I also would like to say that, our airport is very important. It's, there's a lot of big businesses that run out there, and we're very fortunate to have a regional airport in our area. So I would also like to preface that in wanting to know, because it was phrased to us in the study session on Thursday that, the city was going to be, having to, foot the bill for it. And when I say city, I mean taxpayers. This is taxpayer money that we're talking about. And that we would not be able, once we initiate, and I think that once we initiate, if we were to vote this through, I'm correct, Sue, right? If we were to vote yes on this tonight, on this resolution, then, once you have it put in there where the money is coming out of, we wouldn't be able to go back and change that to say, okay, now we're going to take some money from the airport, right? So it's...
Well, you could, you're the board, you set the budget, so you could actually make changes later if you wanted to. You set the budget.
Ms. Wilson, can I ask you to clarify something? And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be cutting in line, but this is a question. I think as people were reading through, and I had some citizens give me this comment, as they were reading through the resolution for establishing the bonds, there's a comment in there about, the city will enforce taxes to pay this bill. Can you clarify that? I think some people took that as we have to do a tax increase, and all that is, I'm going to let you answer it. I think I know the answer, but.
This is a general obligation loan. There are 2 different ways you can issue debt as a public entity. One is as a general obligation, which is backed by tax dollars. The other way is a revenue loan, which is basically backed by revenues in an airport. You could do a revenue one, but there isn't a strong enough stream, and you normally would not do that. He's not here, but TUA does revenue loans because they have consistent revenue streams, and so they will do revenue, or they used to do revenue and GO, because general obligation gets you a lower interest rate, because general obligation is guaranteed by the taxing power of the board. It doesn't mean that you're going to raise taxes, because generally you don't have to. You look at your budget and you look at your capacity. But you have that ability in the case of a downturn, in the case of a problem, that the board has that authority to issue taxes if they ever had to.
So basically, this is just an assurance for the people who will loan the money. They look and say the city can pay it back because they have the power of taxation.
It's a guarantee, basically.
Yeah, it's a guarantee.
For the loan.
I'm sorry. I think no, it's Mr. Alderman Glick's turn.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Ms. Wilson. Were you finished?
That's okay.
No, go ahead if you like. I'm sorry.
I'm used to it. So anyway, in asking, my intent in asking, have we got the FAA opinion and things like that, is not to be obstinate, but I'm just looking out for the citizens of of Tullahoma, because it's a lot of money, and it's city of Tullahoma has no money. It's taxpayer money. So, that was my intent of, asking if we have reached out to the FAA and exhausted all of our options before, just kind of choosing one thing.
You ready?
I'm done.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think I had a question for Ms. Wilson too, and it was my understanding. I know that the city is ultimately responsible for all the airport expenses, but is it not a cleaner way of doing it as far as the taking on the debt here for it, even though the city will probably end up having to pay since the airport's already operating in the red, or going to have to pay anyway. But is it not cleaner to show it as debt incurred by the airport and for the airport on this? Would it be not better to have that way if we can do it ahead of time? That's question number one. And, well, just, yeah, I guess you can answer that question if you can.
That is normally how you would handle this, it is an outlay note for the airport, similar to other notes they've taken out in the past. So you would reflect it in the airport's budget with the fact that this board provides a subsidy every year looking at what the airport presents, what its needs are, and then votes on the budget. So you would be looking at, if there wasn't the ability with $156,000 already in there to cover this payment, you would be looking at the board then providing whatever that payment deficit
Right,
is.
yeah. But at least it would show on the loan or on the bond issue itself where the...
But they can't guarantee it. That's what she
We
told
would
me.
still be guaranteeing it, but
the city
but it
would still
would
be
list on here.
You would not change the language. The language in here is basically standard language. What's in there about tax dollars and general obligation is just standard debt issuance language. It's just a matter of when you go to pay it, it will be budgeted in the airport budget, offset by what this board has already given.
Right. Ms. Hoskins?
Yes, I just wanted to add, for purposes of repayment by the airport, it's very important how things are classified in our documentation of the loan if we are going to do it that way. I still think it's best that we get an FAA attorney's opinion if we want to do it this way, because even if we do it the exact same way we would have done it anyway, the way that it's documented exactly what we call every single part of what they're paying for can have a direct impact on whether or not the FAA will let them pay us back.
And that's exactly why that I wanted to pause, and I still want to make the February 20th deadline, of course, as Ms. Wilson said, they need to be paid. But if we could pause and wait until we hear from the aviation attorney that Mr. Quick has contacted on his opinion, and that might come as soon as tomorrow.
Whoever made the motion could table it.
Or if we could postpone it, because I just want to make sure that it's done right on the front end just to protect the taxpayers of Tullahoma.
Do you know, Kurt, are we going to get a written recommendation from that attorney? Have they been retained?
I don't know that. I know he requested a opinion from him. I thought that the email string, let me see if I could pull it up on my email here, came through.
I think if not, it would be good to get a written recommendation, because
yes,
we're going to hang our hat on it.
It would definitely
We don't just,
be.
in other words, we don't just need to call the FAA and say, what do you think? Because I have a hard time. It's like calling the FBI and saying, what do you think about this case? Tell me your opinion. I have a hard time thinking they're just going to say, oh, yeah, do it.
No, I think
somebody, whoever gives this opinion, I think absolutely needs to see the bill. They need to see the bill.
I believe that. Yeah, I believe. I 100% agree with that.
Because they need to do what
and
the FAA
I think he
would
might
do.
have already sent him some. He said he had a conversation with them. In our initial conversation, he felt the bond issue appeared to meet FAA guidelines. However, he wants to make sure, perhaps postpone the decision with understanding special call meeting.
Well, again, I don't think we need to show him, hey, here's the loan we want to borrow on behalf of the airport. Is that okay? He has to know the purpose of the loan is the repayment of the fuel spill. And again, he's
been told that.
The FAA is going to dissect our bill. And so we need an attorney that's going to do that.
He is an experienced experienced aviation attorney.
I'm sure he is, but since the proper procedure wasn't followed to hire the attorney, I don't have any information about him.
What's the proper procedure to hire the attorney?
Does the city administrator have the authority to just hire an attorney?
As long as it didn't go over his purchasing capabilities, yes.
Which is $1,000?
No, it's $10,000, I believe.
10,000.
Ms. Wilson, can you clarify what the city administrator's purchasing authority is?
It is 10,000.
Thank you.
So I don't think his opinion's going to be over 10,000. If it is, it'll come to the board.
Yes, which it should.
And it probably would if we were actually going to sign a contract and retain him. But if he can write an opinion give that for under $10,000, I'm sure that's what we're working on currently.
Mr. Toma.
Totally lost track. The point being here to me is this just a matter of semantics of whether we want to have the loan through the airport or whether we have the loan through the city? Is it an accounting issue or identity issue?
I thought we'd established that we can't do the loan to the airport because they don't have any assets. Am I incorrect
Well,
there?
which I agree. So virtually, I'm not sure exactly. We got to do it. I don't think the city or the taxpayers, I think we can handle the budget where we're not identifying it as a need for a tax increase. Plus the fact that we keep harping on, can the airport authority pay us back? Well, the point being is we have control over the budget. As we hopefully see the airport authority being able to be in a position, we hope down the line, for them to handle their own expenses, then we don't have to necessarily budget what we've been budgeted. We can reduce the budget. There's money coming back in. I just don't see why it's such a big deal. We're going to have to borrow the money. We're going to have to borrow the money through us.
At some point, it
Hold
may
on.
become.
It's somebody else's turn. Mayor gets to speak now. I'm in agreement, I think, mostly with, or maybe completely with Alderman Toma. So as I understand it right now, the airport can't borrow the money, so the city's going to borrow it. And what it sounds like we're discussing is how much can we force the airport authority to pay back the loan, which is it's an understandable desire. I get that. But the current subsidy of the airport is $156,000 a year this year. The loan payment for this loan, as I recall, Ms. Wilson, is about $80,000 over 12 years.
Between 60 and 80 or something.
Yeah, so let's call it 70. If we could reduce the amount of our subsidy by $70,000 over the next few years because the airport is doing better, to me that's kind of a bit of an even swap. If they do better, if we can recover the airport by having better fuel policies and strengthening the airport, and if we could eliminate the subsidy, we'd be $156,000 ahead minus loan, so we'd be ahead $70,000. On top of that, the city is also basically paying for their insurance, and insurance is an allowable expense for the airport operations, and the fuel tax or the fuel expenditures could go to pay all of the airport's insurance, which is another $30,000-$40,000.
That's already in the 156.
Yeah, well, I understand, but I'm just saying, not only would we not, so we wouldn't have to subsidize them on that as well. So yeah, it's 156, and on top of that is the airport. If the airport grows any further than that, then we're getting the economic benefit of the airport growth, additional property taxes, additional sales taxes. I know it's not a perfect solution, but it's an easy solution compared to trying to worry about how to manipulate the bill with the FAA. I'm telling you, every airport authority person, every airport person I've ever talked to says, don't call the FAA if you don't have to. It's like saying we'll call the FBI or we'll call the IRS. They are a regulatory agency with the entire power of the federal government, and they have the power to make our lives miserable, also that we can say that we want the airport to pay a little more of the fuel spill bill. And the city does have some responsibility for the fuel spill. If you want to say that they had responsibility, we appoint the board. We have funded the airport authority for many years. We sit here every year, and I, even before I was on the board, every year budget season, the airport chairman would come and make his presentation and tell us what's going on at the airport, and we took it, and we never asked any questions about that. that's where we've all got work to do. And so I would encourage us to pass this resolution tonight to borrow this money. Let's get OES paid. Let's don't risk our relationship with a Ascend Federal Credit Union. Let's don't risk additional lawsuits against the city. We are already in trouble with our insurance from all the lawsuits we have. This is clean, and if we're successful, then we're going to recover money that we can take back out of the budget into the future. And if we're not successful, we got a whole bunch of other problems. That's my comment.
Can I?
Ms. McGee.
I'm usually very mindful of what I say and how I say it. So I'm just going to say tonight what no one else is saying. We have ourselves in a mess. And I do agree with Alderman Glick, although you said no one wants to call the FAA. I think we need to get some direction, and I know what Brittany said, and I'm not discrediting, her. I'm not no attorney by any means, but our citizens are afraid that it is going to cause another tax increase, or this money is going to be taken away from fixing our roads. Do we not want to take, that into consideration? We have until February the 20th. One thing that I've noticed since being on this board, that we get ourselves in these situations and we make decisions very hastily, or we look for the maybe like, and I don't mean this in a bad way, easy solutions. We just need to do things the right way and not put any more distress on the city as far as the money.
So I appreciate that. May I ask a question? What do you think that the FAA can do for us in terms of the money?
I think they can give us recommendations on what can be done financially.
Because I think the question that Alderman Glick has raised is getting the FAA to say it's okay for us to have the airport pay the loan.
Or well, we get the loan and the airport pay us back.
But we can do that without the FAA.
Okay.
Well, no, we can't if it's not for an airport purpose.
Right. I thought you said it was for airport purposes.
The reason I was saying what I said a moment ago is because the fact of the matter is, even if it's allowed for them to pay us back according to FAA regulations, they don't have the money to pay it.
Right.
Now, in the future, they might. Ma'am, I'm sorry, public comments.
I'm sorry. So that's just my take on it.
Yeah, that's. I think it's like Cernobia said. We could wait till we have till the 20th. I think the thing to do would be to take what time we need to make a proper decision. And when we hear from the FAA attorney, or I know it's not the best situation in the world with Mr. Quick being out of town, but he can get us that information. And yes, it would have to be a written report, and we might have to vote to retain him if other services are needed. I think Ms. Hoskins recommend to us that we seek an FAA or a aviation attorney, whatever you want to call them. So I think that would be the right thing to do. Just give it a little more time. It won't take that much time. We should have an opinion quick, and it would be better for the future. And like you said, we're going to be paying it back anyway. They're already operating in the red, so we're going to have to pay it back. But if the airport started doing really well, then they could start paying it back. But if they weren't an obligation, they wouldn't have no obligation to pay it.
But you have to understand, if they get in a position where they make it, we have every right in the world to say,
no, we just don't.
No.
The Santa Monica case,
no.
They couldn't take the airport money.
Whoa. I'm not saying taking the airport money. I'm saying we don't have to obligate the $156,000 that we have. That's not airport money. That's our money that we allocate to them.
Oh, I'm sorry.
See what I'm saying?
You misunderstood me. I was saying if the airport started doing real well and we didn't have to make up the $156,000 deficit that they're operating under, then they could start paying the loan and we wouldn't have to. But if we didn't have it stipulated there, they would never be obligated to do that. And as Dr. Bard said, that Santa Monica case, when they wanted to take the revenue of selling the airport to benefit the city, they said no, that money could only be to benefit the airport. So that's why it's important that we make this stipulation now to protect the taxpayers of Tullahoma.
Well, what would the stipulation be?
Hold on. Alderman Byrd got his.
I just wanted a clarification. If we were to pass this as is tonight, where would the money to fund this be coming from? Would that be directly from the city, or would that be from the airport with the way it's written right now?
The way it is written, what it would be is the airport would pay the bill. We would borrow the money. Those funds would be the proceeds that were used to fund that. They would go the proceeds would go to the airport to pay the bill.
And the airport would be 100% responsible for paying that back to the city?
No.
No, not to the city. The airport would pay the annual payments to the bond fund. And the city would continue to provide the annual subsidy that the board votes on every year, which would mean actually it still would be tax dollars that would be paying us back, but it would be through the airport budget. So it would keep your costs with your revenue and your operations in the same pot.
And if we were advised by an attorney that the airport were only able to pay, or only legally able to pay, half of this, how would that change what we have written today?
I don't think it changes, because the airport isn't able to really pay it at all now. I mean, that's why we're giving them $156,000. So any way you look at it, it's going to be tax dollars channeled through the airport as part of your annual budget process. It's just a matter of being able to annually evaluate what the needs are.
So if we passed it as is today and we were later told that the airport could only fund half of this repayment, would we have to go back and change anything, or would we be able to do that with what's written here today?
We could do that with what's written here today. We would just basically, what we would do is probably just draw up a different budget between the airport and the city as to who was paying the debt.
Okay, so if we passed this today, we could then change the budget to match what it needs to be, which means OES would be getting the steps towards repayment started today. We're not delaying and risking any loss of relationships with them or rescind. I can't stress enough how much OES has been working with us, how many times they have given us budgets. Some of those are listed directly in the invoice where they gave us discounts, and some of those aren't listed on here. This is conversations that I've had with Matt from OES about ways that they have worked with us, and now they're just requesting to get paid in a timely manner.
By the 20th.
And I don't like the idea of waiting until a special call meeting to try and rush the payment to them at the last minute.
So I will say that by the 20th is not them getting paid in a timely manner. They actually asked for the money at the end of January, and now they've extended again because we've yet to act to pay them.
So it sounds like what we passed tonight could be, we could budget later to make it correct, depending on what an FAA attorney does tell us.
I think we're missing a point here. What Sue said, what we'll be ended up doing to pay this from an accounting standpoint, we would be in our budget to the airport authority to include the money for the loan, correct? So in other words, we would be controlling, if we give them $156 plus the $80,000 to pay the loan, we technically control the ability that as the airport gets profitable to constantly reduce the amount that we pay out of our pockets. So the taxpayers actually, we got control of that. We don't have to have the FHA say, well, you have the right. When the airport makes profit, we already have control. If their budget shows that they're making $150,000, we could reduce every bit of it, the loan and whatever additional money that we've been giving them. We've got control.
And furthermore, if we do determine that the FAA would allow fuel sales to be spent towards some of that. We could always do that in the future after we know, but there's no reason to wait now to start that, is there?
We got control. We got control.
The way I understand it, there is something on the resolution on the bond issue that would have to be stipulated there. And I'm not exactly sure. That's just what I was told by an attorney. So I just think we need to proceed with utmost caution for the taxpayers. I think, and I'll call the question on that.
We just don't need any more legal problems.
Yeah. Everybody ready to vote?
What are we?
Because we're coming up on 8
Okay,
o'clock.
what
So
are
we're
we-
voting right now. What are we voting on? What was the motion? We had a motion to authorize the payment.
Authorize the payment.
Yeah, so this would just, so this motion, do we really need two motions here? What do you think, Sue?
Can I ask you if you want two motions? And the reason I'm asking is because do you want, if you approve this resolution,
Yeah,
basically we'll submit it, but you won't have funding. It has to go to the comptroller's office, then it has to be funded and closed.
right,
So you're talking probably 4 weeks.
yeah.
So do you want to make it as two motions with the ability to make the payment to OES? If you want to authorize it, there's enough, there's about 800,000 in the debt service account that you could use on an interim basis to transfer that to the airport, pay OES, reimburse that when it came back.
Yeah, that's the motion I had meant to look
do
for
I
earlier.
If you want to do something like that, you could do two motions.
Do I need to make an amended motion to postpone it until we talk to until we get a ruling from the aviation attorney? Do I need to?
No, I think folks are wanting to vote on it tonight. So the only
Or-
question, what motion do we have on this floor? Was it,
To authorize payment of the environmental cleanup. So
Okay.
you could say from the reserve account.
yeah. So we basically need to do two things here. We need to pass either none of them or both of them. Why don't we vote, if it's okay with everyone, could you withdraw your motion?
Let me ask a question.
Okay.
Or make a statement. I agree with getting the loan, and that's what we'll do. But I just want to make sure we're doing it in the proper way and get guidance from the expert attorney on that and make sure we're doing it in the right way. I don't want to delay long enough to pass any deadlines of any payments or anything like that. I just want enough time, and if he takes too much time, then we act without it. But I want enough time to get an expert opinion to make sure we're doing the right thing before we do it.
Okay.
But I do agree with doing it, but let's do it the right way.
Okay, so what we have right now on the floor is a motion to approve authorized payment of the environmental cleanup expenses resulting from the airport fuel to Ozone Environmental Services. So we can go ahead and vote on that one.
So,
And then we will vote on the loan package one. But if they don't, I'm sorry, Ms. Wilson, go ahead.
Except that doesn't, if you just authorize payment, you're not saying how.
I understand. So we need to amend it anyway.
On the loan part of it.
Well, no, she's just saying we need to amend our motion to
detach
specify to her how should we want her to pay it. Is that a fair statement? Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Sue. If we paid it out of our reserves, how long would it take us to, well, I
No,
agree
she
with
means
you
on
there.
a temporary basis.
But the question being is, how long does it take paperwork to get this loan done?
I'm thinking 4 weeks.
So we need to be.
If you paid it from the debt service reserve, it'd be 4 weeks probably before it was there.
So virtually what we're doing is we pay our bill, borrow the money, put that back in
to the reserves.
to reserve, and get this guy taken. We can't wait for.
Do we have enough money in reserves to float it for 30 days until the?
Yeah, we have about 800,000 in debt service reserve, in the debt service reserve, which is where the proceeds would then go. You would just need to authorize that money was transferred to the airport to go ahead and pay the OES.
And can you comment, because I noticed that in the resolution, that you have that language in the resolution that we can do that for the debt issuance.
Yes. What I requested them to put in the resolution is a reimbursement authorization. It says that we can reimburse expenditures relating to the projects.
No, I thought you had it. I thought you had a section there that said we could pay the bill now and then put the money back from the loan later.
Right, it says that it says that we are authorized to use reimbursement.
Okay.
So we can pay and we could reimburse from the loan.
It's just near certainty if we don't do that tonight that we're going to miss their deadline.
So can we amend the motion to say pay the bill out of reserves and then wait to vote on the loan until we get further guidance in a few days?
I wouldn't vote to do that because then you don't have anything backing that up.
Well, then,
I thought, is that what you had suggested to?
I would suggest you vote the resolution through first.
Okay.
As
And
is?
if you pass the resolution, that then you go ahead and do the second motion that the mayor suggested, and you say, and we authorize to pay OES now, using the city's debt service reserve as a
You
transfer.
made the motion.
Well,
As a transfer to the airport.
Tom.
Well, we've
Hey,
got them in
Bush.
reverse.
Bush, you made the motion. Can you withdraw with your motion?
Sure, I didn't know I made a motion, but I
Well,
withdraw it.
she says you did. She says you made the and you know she's the recorder, so it's got to be right.
We talked about so much stuff, no telling what I might
So
ask you
so
to
we
do.
came to item number 26-17 to request authorized payment, and we have you recorded as making the motion. If you'll withdraw that motion, we can instead work on the other one first.
Be more than happy to.
All right. So the motion's withdrawn. So now we need a motion on this resolution to borrow the money. No, we're not voting to borrow the money. I know. She's got it. She's got to type it in. So we have a motion from Alderman Toma, a second from Alderman Byrd to approve resolution number 2041. And I'm just going to read the caption on that again, so we all know what we're voting on here. Resolution in the City of Tullahoma, Tennessee, authorizing the issuance of interest-bearing municipal bond airport capital outlay notes, Series 2026, in an amount not to exceed $744,000, and providing for the payment of said notes. So I think we've had a lot of debate. Does anybody have anything new to add about that?
I don't have any debate, but I want to amend the motion to postpone voting, to postpone approving the resolution until we get all the information from the legal expert.
Just parliamentary procedure. That's not an amendment. That's a motion to table. So you're making a motion to
No,
table.
it's not to table it, and it kills it.
You're making a motion to postpone then. It's a separate motion. It's not an amendment, which is, I'm just, for the sake of this, it's not an amendment. A motion to postpone is not an amendment. So
Until when?
Until we get the word from the legal expert that we contacted.
And then we could call a special call meeting.
And
depending
then we
on-
could call a special call meeting and vote on it.
All right.
And like I said, just off the subject, I am in favor of doing this. I just want to do it the proper way.
Okay. Discussion on the motion to postpone. I'm personally opposed to postponing this. I don't understand who this attorney is. I just heard about him today. I don't think we need to be able to pay from the revenues of the airport fuel sales in order to make this all work out to our advantage. And I would urge us not to delay any more getting this bill done and getting it paid. Any other comments?
I do not like the idea of postponing. I believe it puts us at further legal risk from the OES and hurting our relationship with Ascend, whose headquarters is in Tullahoma and was damaged by this fuel spill.
We know what the deadline is. It's the 20th. So, I mean, if we don't hear anything, we get back together and vote on it and make the payment by the 20th. So.
My point is the risk we are taking by postponing. Passing tonight eliminates that risk. Postponing any does increase that risk, and I do not like the idea of taking a risk.
Not a whole
with
lot
this.
of risk if you know the deadline.
Well, my comment too is we do have a way to have the airport, when it's capable of paying some or part of it back by our control of budget items of what we would allocate to the airport without going through anything other than adjusting the budget as their financial position changes. We got control of the loan because that has to be budgeted into the airport. So we're securing our potential of being able to get it without having to go through all this mumbo jumbo, in my opinion. So these people need the money. I think we have a safe way, an opportunity to recoup for the taxpayers without having to have any more opinions. That's my feeling. I'm done. That's my opinion.
Ms. McGee.
Question. So we're going to use, for now, we're going to use the money in the reserve. Is that what I heard?
Well, this would pass the resolution to do the loan. That
Right,
would be
okay.
our next motion.
Okay.
Yes.
This right here is to postpone.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we're debating whether to postpone or not. Yeah.
What was the first
Thinking through
motion?
these numbers.
Yeah, this vote is to postpone, to wait to hear from the legal expert.
Okay.
And if we don't pass this, then we're probably not paying the bill tonight because we won't have anything to back that up with.
We could pass both those at the special call meeting.
Sure. Any other discussion? I'm sorry.
Question.
Yes.
Okay. If we postpone and then we agree to use the reserve, they'll get that money immediately. It's not like a waiting.
Sue, how long does it take to write the check out of the reserves?
Well, are you saying if you postpone, but then just say do the check anyway?
No, she's
that's
just saying
not what
when
I
we
said.
decide to do that, just how long does it take?
Like the same day?
That's
The
what I
same
thought.
day?
Yeah. Okay.
Or the next day after you meet?
And they'll for sure get that money by the 20th.
Yeah.
Well, they'll for sure get that money for the 20th if we actually resolve these questions about whether or not the airport can use fuel cells to pay.
Well, if they can't be resolved, we move forward with what we got now, if we run out of time.
Well, we just seem to be having a habit lately of having one more objection after another come up at the last moment, and we're getting close to the deadline. So, I oppose delay. Any other comments? If not, let's vote.
I do. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
If we wait and get further guidance from whoever Administrator Quick spoke to, will we give them a deadline of like 3, 4, 5 days?
Yeah, probably
To
less
protect
than,
us?
Probably less than that.
Yeah, less than that.
Well,
I think from the indication was that it would be something more like tomorrow.
Forthcoming, yeah.
I have one more comment on that. Again, I have no idea who this attorney is. I have no idea what their qualifications are. If we end up where we start trying to verify his qualifications, whether we trust his advice or not, it's going to cost us more time.
Let's see if I.
Y'all ready to vote? Let's vote. So this is a vote
To postpone.
to postpone, this consideration.
I've got some, if you would like me to read.
We are now
some-
voting.
His,
Let's go.
this is a motion to postpone.
This is a motion to postpone. You can change your vote.
We just need to get this.
Is everyone's vote locked in? So it's 4 against and 3 for. So the motion fails, so we will not delay the vote on this tonight. So that brings us back to the main motion for resolution number 2041, resolution of the City of Tullahoma authorizing the issuance of interest-bearing municipal airport capital outlay notes, Series 2026, in an amount not to exceed $744,000 and providing for the payment of said notes. Do we have any other discussion on the bond itself? Of the bond issue itself?
It's technically, is it a loan or a bond?
I'm sorry. It's notes. I'm sorry. Yes, I shouldn't say bond.
Okay.
Keep me straight. All right. If not, let's vote. That motion carries 5-2. And so now that brings us to a need to return to item 18. A request to authorize payment of environmental cleanup expenses resulting from airport fuel spill to Ozone Environmental Services. So as I understand, what Ms. Wilson needs is she needs a motion to authorize payment to environmental spill services from the, which fund?
Transferring the funds from a debt service fund to the airport. So
Okay.
they have funds to
Okay. Transferring funds from the debt service fund to the airport so they will be able to pay the bill. Do we have a motion? We have a motion and a second from Mr. Toma. Do we have any other discussion?
Oh, I didn't mean to push that. I'll have it.
All right, if not, let's vote. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much. That's the end of our regular business, I believe, unless I've forgotten anything. And that brings us to Beer Board. We have a consent agenda item to approve the minutes of January 12th. Do we have a motion to, are you caught up with us? I'm sorry, Lindsay. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the Beer Board? A motion is second. Let's vote.
Oh, sorry.
I thought I already hit it.
All right. Motion carries. That concludes our business. We are adjourned.